Where am I? Oh, I'm in my office. Where am I?
Where am I? You mean existentially or like actual physically?
I'm in my office. At my desk.
Is this a riddle?
Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. And we are back.
We are back.
I am Jason Kreidman.
I'm Alan Bush.
And this is Dudes to Dads. We can still hear that intro.
Yep.
We got to get a techno version of that. A little dubstep.
That'd be cool. A dubstep, techno, maybe even a more mellow version.
What about a speed metal version? I love it. I think we could do all kinds of versions. Let the audience vote.
Which
I mean, I love the original. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Just vote on a remix.
I'll do some remixes. I think that'd be kind of fun.
That'd be
a fun project. Yeah,
that would be fun.
Maybe for like the 50th or something. Like a Hallmark episode, remix it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because we're getting close to that.
I know. We're in the 40s now.
We're in the 40s, yeah.
We are in the 40s.
Yeah.
So this is Dudes to Dads, as I said. Today's topic, we're not doing segments. Mm-hmm. We are going to focus on one specific area.
Yeah.
And it's one that's very near and dear to my heart. Mm-hmm. How dads can balance work and family life.
Yes. I am constantly amazed at your ability to do this. This is one thing I
must look good from the outside then.
Yeah. Well, it's a good facade.
I'm putting on quite an act. Because, I appreciate that. It is not easy to balance. I think many people have this. I mean, moms have this problem too. It's not like this is just universal. Yeah. It's a universal problem. Yeah, and the idea is though, can you quote have it all?
Yeah.
And I think that's, part of the origination of Dudes to Dads was the fact that guys want to be everything. They want to be a great dad. They want to be a good husband. They want to be a good son to their parents.
Sure.
You want to be all these things, but you can't be perfect all the time.
Right.
And so that's one of the things I actually, believe it or not, learned that from a sales course.
Oh, okay.
I was doing sales training, learning sales training.
Sure,
I was in a sales training course. And the instructor was great. And he said, you know what? Some days you're not going to be a great salesperson.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean you're a bad human.
Right.
He was saying, like, I'm extrapolating, but basically some days you're going to be great at this. Some days you're going to be great at that, and if you're a father or if you're a husband or whatever, you're going to have days where you are really good in one area.
Yeah.
And bad in others.
Yeah.
And to be okay with that. And I was kind of like, that makes sense. Because you're trying to be quote perfect, or a lot of us try to be really good or perfect all the time in all the areas. Right. And it's very, very stressful.
It is.
To do that.
Yes.
So I think the idea of allowing yourself that ability to not be perfect is something that's really important. And it's something that I struggle with.
Yeah.
I'm currently deal with that. It's not like, oh yeah, I got it. It's something.
Perfect at everything.
No,
you're perfect at not being perfect.
It's something where it's a struggle to feel like, gosh, you know what? I really want to be this for my kids. At the same time, it's like I have these other obligations for work, or gosh, I know my wife deserves this, and I can't provide that right now, or whatever it is. These demands, you have all these demands from all these different angles. So what can we do to balance this? That's really the question. So I think that's the topic for today. It's basically, can we do it? Can we balance it all?
Right.
There is an article in Time. Mm-hmm. In fact, it was online Time. It's not like I sit there and read the Time magazine, which, hey, some people do.
To each their own.
But it was about that, and they talked to 7 CEOs.
Okay.
That, big time CEOs, most of them. And, how do they manage that? And it was interesting because a lot of them are like, wow, nobody's ever asked that before. They always ask me, other questions about like where I was raised or what, but the idea that a dad who's very successful or at the top of the chain, if you will.
Sure.
How do you incorporate your work life and your family life to have balance and to be happy.
Yeah.
One of the things Dr. Ellen, my mother, had said is, nobody on their deathbed ever says, I should have probably spent more time at the office.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Instead, maybe I should tell the people who are special to me that I love them and spend more time with them. Sure. And that's when you're on your deathbed, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
At least so I've heard.
Right. Yeah.
At least on the 3 times that I've been dead, that's
exactly.
That's what I thought about, because I feel like it sometimes. So that was, in this article, there was a paper that was done. It was by Families and Work Institute, which I guess is an organization that studies this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, it's from 2011, but still relevant. Said for dual income families, so both mom and dad working.
Sure.
60% of working fathers versus 47% of working mothers reported experiencing work-family conflict.
Okay.
So men, more than women, felt like they had that unbalance.
Right.
Or imbalance, I should say. It's unbalance.
Yeah.
They're both words.
Yeah, I guess they
The
are.
imbalance of work-family life.
Yeah.
And so they talked to, like I said, they talked to some of these CEOs. One of them would say, well, one of the important things, or one of the things I regret when my kids were younger, is that I equated a lot of different things equally. And what I mean by that is there are things like games, sporting events, something like that, where the dad's like, I can't miss it. It's the playoffs, or whatever, which could be the case.
Yeah.
Versus, and those are important, not saying that they're not important, versus crucial moments, which are a birth, a graduation.
Yeah.
Those are things that stick in
First
memory.
steps.
Yeah, I mean, you have 100 games.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
So one of the things that he had said was, do not miss those crucial elements. Mm-hmm. Or the crucial times.
Sure.
It's okay to miss the other important ones.
Right. Yeah.
There's other people that said, well, when I travel, I often take my family with me. Mm-hmm. If they're have the means to do that. Mm-hmm. That's an option. And I think that's something that celebrities do and things like that, where they have the ability to do that, where they can bring people along. Most of us in reality don't.
Right.
We don't have that. But I think fathers now, because we are taking, quote, a more active role in the parenting than we did of our long ago, are experiencing more conflict. Mm-hmm. There was another thing. It said fathers have tripled the time that they spend with their children in the present time versus 1965. 3 times as much we spend, and we still don't feel like we're spending enough time. Right. Which is, the parents back then, or that's before our time.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, right. We're not that old.
I'm not that old. The Grays may say something different, but really, to spend 3 times as much now and us still feel conflicted. I mean, I'd be honest, I feel conflicted all the time that this work thing is really important, or I have a deadline, or I've got a client, whatever. Yeah. And yet, my kids are still young, so I don't have a tremendous amount of events. I'm self-employed, so I can...
You can take a break and go.
I can decide that. I mean, it just can mean I don't make a certain amount of money, or,
Well, and the other thing is, too, and I might be jumping the gun here off your original ideas, but, like, you might be self-employed and you might have the ability to take those times off, but you also have a lot of work stress that you bring home. So you might have things that are going on in your head. That's why I was thinking about like the types of jobs that people have. Like my grandfather, for example, was a laborer, but he'd come home about the same time every day. He's done. Doesn't worry about it at all. When he comes home, tired day, just wants to relax, hang out, and eat food and watch a game maybe or something, and spend time with his grandkids and kids. Right. Whereas someone like you and I, who work in a field where we have things we think about for clients and we're trying to get new business, that type of stuff. Do we bring that home? And do we? I don't know. Are we more stressed?
Oh, for sure.
And maybe that feeling you're talking about, like we're still feeling under the gun, is because even if the amount of time has increased, so is the amount of work time.
Right. Well, there's another study from 2013. They said 46% of fathers reported that they don't spend enough time with their children versus 23% of mothers. So this is a different. So forget about conflict, but just the time that they spend. The women feel like they do spend more time,
right,
than the guys. And that could be true if you are in a traditional home where the father does more of the work and
Right.
is making, the majority of the income, whereas a wife stays at home or maybe works part-time or something like that. It's a very difficult thing to feel like you can balance those things and to not miss those moments. And like you said, that was a big decision for me about being self-employed because I have experienced being the head of a corporation, let's say, or, having more employees, I should say.
Right.
I've also experienced working for somebody else.
Yep.
They both have their advantages and disadvantages. When I had a larger company, I didn't necessarily feel I had that freedom to go away because
you got to set the example.
Well, you set the example. It's important that you feel like you can be away. And I'm somewhat controlling. I didn't feel like I could do that, which is my own mistake.
Yeah.
Versus just, hey, these people are perfectly capable of handling things when I'm not there.
Right.
But you're right. Monkey see, monkey do. Like, why is he leaving early? That kind of thing. And it depends on the scope of your employees and the history and also all kinds of stuff. Their level of level of the employee. I should say.
That's true. Yeah.
But then, more recently, I decided to go back on my own and be more of a consultant where I'm independent. I have a couple people that work with me, but I'm not as tied down to a place or to a, to a schedule per se.
You're right.
But I still maintain a schedule, but just to keep sanity.
Yeah, right. And you have to. I mean, that's part of the discipline.
But the difficulty in that scenario is you don't make enough as much money, the potential, or there's things where it could be, it's more risky.
Yeah.
It's give and take.
Yeah.
Where I'm now responsible for only myself.
Yeah.
Or a couple people versus being responsible. Although I was responsible for many others, there was a lot of other people helping me move this machine.
Right.
And where it's like, hey, no, it's just you.
Yep. And you're everything.
Yeah. And if I don't work, I don't make as much money.
Right.
Which that's all we care about. That's how we contribute. That's our value.
Yes.
There's all kinds of issues going on there.
Right.
So another thing said, mothers spend twice as much time as their children, or twice as much time with their children as fathers do. Mm-hmm. So this was in 2011 as well. 13 and a half hours per week for moms.
Okay.
Versus 7.3 hours for fathers.
Interesting. Now that's
not a lot of time.
No. Well, in a week, that's not a lot of time.
It's not a lot of time.
So you're talking about working parents?
Yes.
Both parents working?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think so. Well, I would imagine that's the pool. That's the pool. It was a dual income family.
Right. Yeah. That's it. I don't know why that is.
I don't know. I didn't get that far.
The hours, the lateness, the dad getting drunk.
Well, I don't know. Well, I think,
what is it?
In general, the thought is that women are more involved in the child rearing process than men. It's just the nature of what it is. I mean, I can tell you even from I think we've talked about. I'm now getting into this field, if you will, whatever you call it, parenting, advice, speaking, that kind of stuff.
Right.
The number of men in this area it's minuscule. I mean, minuscule in comparison to women.
Right.
Even counselors and therapists and all this kind of stuff. I mean, the whole gamut of people of men is way less. I mean, I would say, 1 to 50, or whatever, it's those that are interested in the field, as well as who's involved. And that's the truth. I mean, even when I was going to parenting classes, it was all women,
right?
Other than a couple that were couples.
Sure. Usually they're forced by the woman to go there.
The woman dragging
them over there.
Dragging the guy. Yeah. Well, even in the meetup group, why are you here? Well, my wife told me.
Yeah, right.
So it's a very interesting dynamic that, so getting back to, work-life balance, I did create some tips. I've got 11 tips for dads to balance work and life. Okay. So this is something I conjured up. I mean, I looked at a lot of materials for this. It's not like I just pulled this out of my intestinal tract. But I want to kind of talk on each one of these, and we can go over them. I think most guys appreciate tips and lists and things.
Yeah.
It's way easier to digest.
Exactly. You get bite-sized chunks. Yeah.
So the first thing is actually taking inventory of your current situation. So what I mean by that is, establish your goals and priorities for both work and your life.
Okay.
So in other words, before you even take action, you got to kind of look at it and go, what is it that I want out of my work? Mm-hmm. That I'm spending this time, is it that I'm trying to get ahead? Do I have to do this? Is it this require me? Is that the type of work that I want to do? I mean, you're taking a full inventory of that.
Sure.
It's a little complicated, but
No, I get it though.
And then basically the same thing for my life. Do I want to be there during these moments? Is that more important to me? Is my wife able to cover it? What is it that I want from my life? Mm-hmm. And how important is it?
Yeah. Right.
Now, I don't think any dad is going to say, well, it's not important for me to spend time with my children.
Right.
But the reality of the actions that we take to do that are much less than what we think or say.
Sure.
We say, oh gosh, my kid, I mean, I'm not saying just everybody, but you always hear it. Oh, my kids are so important to me and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well then spend more time with them.
Right. Yeah.
What are you doing to make sure that relationship is healthy and quality? Because as I said, no dad goes, I don't want a good relationship with my children. Exactly. I don't really care about those things.
I just created them.
Yeah. I mean, they're just,
handle it now.
They're just, they just want money and they,
You're right.
They're just little buggers,
Yeah.
So take inventory. I think that's the first step. You kind of have to understand. The second one would be to get organized.
Okay.
And getting organized would mean track your time.
With the kids?
Kids and work.
Literally clock in and out with the kids.
Well, I mean, take inventory is sort of the first step, meaning, you're looking at what it is that you want. Uh-huh. The second one of getting organized and actually tracking the time.
Yeah.
And then kind of putting those together.
Yeah.
It's because the idea is like, you think, wow, I spend, if you actually take the inventory of how much time you do work and you think that, I work 8 to 5 or whatever, and occasionally I'll answer an email or do something at night.
Yeah.
How much time is that during the week? Is it 50 hours? And then now we just saw the statistic of, the average father spending 7.3 hours with their kid.
Yeah.
That means a lot of dads spend a lot less time than that.
That's true. Yeah.
Versus
that's the average that you just read out. So there's people who spend a lot more, but there's also
which is 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
1 hour a day spending with your children. Now, I can say like in the mornings, because of schedules and whatever else, I get up really early. Mm-hmm. So I am up before my kids are up and before the sun is up.
Right.
But I have about an hour in the morning of where maybe about an hour where my kids get up and then they go to school. Now, that's not quality time.
Right.
That's that's eating, brushing teeth, getting dressed. I mean, it's not time where we're sitting there bonding,
Right.
So I don't know what this document or this, study really looked at as far as what's
independent of eating, like you said, or brushing teeth.
Well, so now eating, and we know having a meal together. So now there are times in the mornings where I'll make an effort to time my breakfast so that I can have breakfast with them.
Yeah,
which is good because then we can talk, and even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, it's still something.
Right.
But that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
So then so you have in the morning. So then I go to work, they go to school, they come home. I'm home about an hour and a half, 2 hours before they go to sleep. Mm-hmm. We have dinner together almost, most nights.
Okay.
And that's not, and so then the question becomes is how much quality time is it in the evening too?
Yeah.
Are they finishing homework? Am I trying to get something together, or we're prepping dinner? I mean, the quality time is very, very difficult. So that's why we say, like, if you can eat dinner together,
yes,
that's a great thing because, you can spend that time. So for me, when I think of the balance of the work and the life, I'm like, it's the weekends.
Yeah. Right.
I don't expect that I'm going to have real quality time with my kids during the week.
Right.
I will have special moments.
Sure.
Where I get to read or I get to do, something. But it's very small bits of time.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. So when you add those all up, I can see what they're saying about 7.5 hours or whatever it is.
Right. If it's like a half hour each day, it's not very much time.
It's not very much time. And then, at least on the weekend, you're, if you get to do something, then you can accumulate those hours.
Right.
So it is hard. It is hard to do that. I mean, you can say the same thing if you're just with a spouse or with a significant other, where you're like, yeah, well, we both work, we see each other at night, and then get up and you do the same thing again, and then we have family obligations and friends on the weekends, and it's like, how much time do you actually spend together? Now, some people have more requirements than others, but for kids, that time together is really important.
It is, yeah.
Whereas a spouse or significant other may not be as crucial. We're self-sufficient.
And you understand it to a certain extent when you're in a relationship. You understand.
But for the kids, that time is really, really valuable.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So that's the thing: get organized, track your time. Third tip for balancing work and life: schedule the time with your family or the kids. So actually, in your day planner.
Yep.
Phone, whatever use,
device you use,
mechanism that you use to plan your day.
Yeah.
Schedule the time and actually say from 3 to 5 playing soccer. And plan that out and make a commitment to do that.
Right.
Now, I will say that's a difficult thing to do sometimes, because I have made a plan and I've been guilty of changing that plan because of some kind of circumstance.
Sure.
Where I said, you know what, I want to do these half days on Fridays because I want to spend more time with my kids. The reality of that hasn't been as quality as I had thought and hoped. And that's my own fault.
Yeah.
I have to take responsibility for that and say, you know what, I'm the one who needs to plan that in advance and say this, because there's always something that comes up. Oh, I got to, fix this, clean this. Oh, can you go? Hey, now that I'm off work, I can go get this done.
Yeah. Now there's a bunch of stuff I need to do.
Right. So it's I'm talking about these things and being honest that it's something that, the reason I'm talking about them too is so that I do them.
It's like it's only your catharsis.
Well, I'm along for the ride, I mean, I'm this process of being, of talking to people and helping them it's for me too.
Yeah. It's a learning and teaching.
There's a learning curve and you've got to put the effort in there, and it's not always, it's not always black and white.
Right.
So, so anyway, so that's the one thing. And the other thing is be flexible. So the number 4 thing was be flexible. So the thing is that things are going to change. When you have kids, you must be flexible. Timing changes. I mean, all of a sudden, like we were supposed to go to this family event the other night and my son was sick. So guess what? I'm not going to go, or my wife's not going to go, and he's not going.
Right.
He actually had a fever. We can't bring him to a public place.
Yeah.
So that was just, literally a couple hours before we realized that this is he was coming on really quick.
Right.
Things change, especially with kids.
Yeah, and you have to be understanding of that.
Yeah,
change.
so all of a sudden, this was quality time that I was going to be able to spend with my family. Now, I got a chance to spend quality time with my son, and this, as I talked about in another episode, I believe it was the second time that we played poker or blackjack that night.
Oh, okay. There we go.
So that's when he wanted to play. He ended up
I'm sick. Let's play blackjack.
Yeah, well, I was like, well, I don't know if that's a good idea, but we ended up playing. So.
That's great. No, it keeps his mind off of things.
It did keep his mind off. He actually, he went to sleep early and he wasn't feeling very good. So I was like, we can stop. We only played for a little bit. But
yeah.
Maybe that's why he lost that one.
He wasn't on his full game.
I know, he wasn't on his full game. Okay, so that's it. The number 5, drop time-wasting activities. Okay. So, television, social media, things that really aren't adding much value to your life. Granted, that's my opinion, but that's how it is. Yeah. Like in our house, we don't just, here's the thing. We don't watch a lot of television. It's not because I don't love television. Right. I just don't even know when people do it. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. The other day, my wife and kids were gone. I sat down and watched TV.
And that was a long.
That was, I mean, it was like, this was so great. But for whatever reason, I don't feel like I have that ability very often. And I just don't. And so it's just not part of my routine. Yeah. I'm not like eating dinner. We're not eating dinner, watching TV, whatever. But it's not that I don't enjoy it. It's just, I do have that feeling like, wow, you know what? There's other things that I need to be doing or I should be doing. Yeah. I'd rather do that than, watch TV or be on the computer doing fun stuff. Yeah. I'm on the computer enough with work. I don't the last thing I need to be doing is be on the computer for something fun. I know. I always thought that about a gym. When I was younger, I was thinking, God, I'd love to work in a gym. And then I thought about it. I'm like, nah, I spend enough time going to the gym and exercising. Yeah. It's like the last thing I'm going to want to do is be here on my free time. Yeah, right. Sort of the same thing. I'm online and working in, it's all the time. It's the last thing I want to do is be on the computer. Yeah. Number 6, for balancing work and life, have family dinners. We can't say that enough.
Yeah, and we've said that before in the previous
It's a
episodes.
routine thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
We did this. This was a homework on our last episode, I believe, that take each kid out individually.
Yep.
So that's a way to balance the life and balance life and work is, take each kid out if you have multiple kids and spend that one-on-one time with them. So you brought this up earlier. Number 8, focus your energy.
Right.
So as you said, your relative, when you were at work hard.
Yes.
Focus on work, do that. When you are with family, stay focused on the family. So that doesn't mean be on your phone. It was interesting. When I was reading this stuff, I found an article that was talking about how you can mix your family with work. So like, you're at your son's soccer game, so you can still bring your phone and do emails, but your presence is there. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like to me, that just did not, you're not present.
And it kind of defeats the purpose of it. I mean, maybe because the kid sees you there.
Right. But the kid knows you're on your phone, sees your head down.
If you're not paying attention, if you're not cheering on and come on.
I totally disagree with that.
I agree with you in that situation.
That's what I think you have to focus. And the same thing is like when you're at work, and I've been in that situation, with whether it's employees and things where there's so much family stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's distracting and you can't get the work done. It's just impossible. Now, there are certainly emergencies and things like that, but I remember as a kid, like calling my mom at the office all the time. It was just like, I think about that now, like stop calling,
Yeah.
Every question had to be answered.
Right. Yeah. At that moment.
Yeah. But just staying focused on the task at hand. And if you're with family, just focus on the family.
Right.
Number 9, tuck them in at night or read to them. So as I said, there are moments where, especially like I do the dads meetup or something like that. And there are these nights, even when we record podcasts, where a lot of times I come home after they're asleep or right as they're about to go to sleep. But right when they're about to go to sleep, I still get that opportunity to say like, good night, tuck them in, hang with them for a second.
Yeah.
And that still allows me that something.
Sure.
To feel like, okay, I at least got a little bit of connection with them.
Yeah.
And I think the same for them too. It's like, oh, I saw dad, like dad came home versus, because I know for me, if I go 2-3 nights where I don't see them in the evening, I feel like I'm doing something majorly wrong.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm totally neglecting them.
Yeah.
That's my own guilt, my own whatever. But, and it's not that I have to be so, reading to them and doing it, but it's like to not see them because I know that is a big deal. Like and they'll say that if my wife is gone or something, and they'll say like, hey, where is she? Or, and well, she's out with a friend or doing whatever. They want to know that you're there.
Yeah, that's the thing. It can be as simple as that you're just there and not somewhere else. Like you said, you might not be doing anything at that moment. You might be just reading or, hanging out, and then you're just kind of there. So if in case they do want you, you're there. Yeah.
It's funny too. I know some couples, some friends that, one of the spouses will be much more involved in nighttime than the other. Like they don't even switch off. Like,
do they have like duties? So they switch off?
No. Like I think in case like the husband is always the one that puts him down.
Huh.
Or vice versa.
Puts them down.
Puts them down.
Sounds like they're horses that run. They're going to the glue factory.
No, but is the one who actually says goodnight. I mean, the other one will say goodnight, but like literally is the one who reads to them and then does that. So it's just interesting. I mean, different families will have different importance of what it is. Yeah. For me, I know that I like to at least be there. I don't have to be the one who's totally doing everything, but I know that I at least like to be in that situation.
Yeah.
At least majority of the time.
Sure. And there'll be exceptions to the rule.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's certainly things too where my wife will be like, she'll be the one reading. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to get something else done. Like I don't have to just sit there.
Right.
And if there's something else that can be done, like clean the entire house every day. I mean, there's always stuff. Oh, wait till you have children. And then the 11th tip, the last tip is what I mentioned sort of in the beginning of the podcast was realize that you won't always be perfect.
Yeah.
Right. It's impossible to be perfect at everything all the time.
Right.
And, I think I allow myself to now feel that way and understand that way, to say, it's kind of take inventory at the end of the day and say, you know what, I was a good husband today, but I wasn't that good of a dad. Or I was, gosh, I made a ton of money. I was a great employee or a great, entrepreneur. But I really didn't do anything for my wife today.
Right.
I didn't make her feel good or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect all the time. The cool thing is that you can start over the next day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's a new day.
Yeah, it's a new day. The sun comes up again. Yeah.
So same thing with kids. When I miss a night or something like that, it's the next morning. I'm like, hey, how's it going? How was last night? And I have a tendency to probably be more engaged.
Yeah.
Because feeling like guilty or something like that, as a result of that. So,
yeah.
So I think that, those are important. Those are some tips that dads can do, to balance work and life. And, pose a question to you, although you don't have kids yet.
Right.
What are some things that you feel like you do to balance work and work and life?
Work and life, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have a girlfriend. You have a social life, and how balancing that? Because you work long hours and do that too. How are some ways that you think that you've done that?
Much in the similar vein that you got to kind of make time and schedule things ahead. A lot of times I'll have, like this, for example, is kind of outside of our normal work day. So we do the podcast really for fun.
Right.
But so, you have to make that schedule time. Also, I tend to be spread thin along a lot of different people now because I'm making a lot of different contacts, but I got to make more time for the more important people. If that makes sense, you know what I mean? Because I have a lot of people.
Acquaintances.
I have a lot of acquaintances. I have a lot of business contacts. I have a lot of friends from other things that, they're fair weather friends. We can have a good time. And not to say they're not important. They're great. They're wonderful people. I know a lot of wonderful people. That being said, people that are a lot in my more inner circle. The meaningful people, family, girlfriend, that type of stuff. Make sure I'm at least attempting to devote more time. So going out to dinners, the weekends are usually more dedicated to that. Much in the vein with you said your kids, like my weekends probably more dedicated to those people in particular, because the peripheral people I can make, have a happy hour with, for example, after work, go get some, some beers or whatever, hang out, and that's it. And then I go home and then have dinner and that type of stuff. So the weekend, if it's possible, dedicate more to the people that are more important to my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things I've done is just get up really early.
Yeah. What's funny? I never was a morning person until I got
am I.
Until I probably hit maybe I would say the last 7 or 8 years, I became way more of a morning, getting up super early for some reason and just doing things like independent.
Well, I just don't know a better time to do it. So for me, I exercise every day or almost every day. And I actually work out best at night. That's where I feel the most energy, strongest,
sure.
Like dinner right before dinner or dinner right after dinner or whatever. That hasn't happened for years. I mean, even before I was married and had kids, I found I had to devote that time to social, other things, and whatever. So I never felt like I had the time. So I just created the schedule in the morning where I get up ridiculously early. And now I feel that way too, because I don't like to work out. Which I can work out of the house. I'm okay with that. We have the ability to do that. But like this morning, as an example, I did yoga. Mm-hmm. Well, I can't really do good yoga, which I don't do it. It's not like I'm doing yoga every day.
Yeah.
I can't do it when the kids and everybody's up.
I totally get
I have to do
distracted.
It when everyone's either asleep or I got to go somewhere else and do it. But if I'm going to do it out of the house, I got up at before 5 o'clock in the morning to do it. It's not like I want to.
No.
But that's kind of the feeling. It's like, okay, if I want to do this, I've got to do it around the schedule of other people.
No, you're so funny. And talk about also going somewhere else. I mean, you have an office that you work, and even though you work independently, you have an office to go to. And I see the value in that, because even today, just today, I was doing push-ups, and my cat came around, and he's like looking at me, and I got distracted. I started laughing, and I'm like, I can't do this.
The cat is distracted.
I can't do this in front
of
my
imagine kids.
My cat. Just my cat. Imagine what kids would be like.
My wife and I had worked out so much at home that our kids became they'd work out or they'd do the things alongside us and stuff. And it was so funny to me, as I was having children and babies, whatever, of how my workouts used to be versus what they became, and the good thing is that our children are seeing exercise, they want to do stuff. We have a kids yoga that our kids do.
Oh, that's cool.
That. They'll do those kinds of things, but yeah, it's just funny the difference of what your life and your routine is. But, for now, it's getting up that early so that I can have, quote, quiet time.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing too, and I realized that as well. Like the quietest moments are like super early in the morning usually, because like it's when everyone's asleep, nothing's going on, and everyone. It's like nighttime. You still hear bits and pieces of things that are going on outside. Right. Maybe if you depends on what neighborhood you live in. My neighborhood happens to be kind of full of that. But yes, like before dawn, everything's quiet, and it's like I can just kind of get peace at that moment.
Yeah, and so I mean, even going to the gym that early in the morning, it's not easy. But there's other people obviously who have the same, the same thing. There was actually
You're
a woman.
not alone in the gym.
No, there's a woman who has 5 children, young children.
Oh, geez.
I had my wife knew her or whatever. She's at the gym every single day that early. And I guarantee it's because that is the only time.
Yeah.
Because imagine you're a wife with 5 kids, and I think she's a stay-at-home mom with 5 really young kids. Like, you just don't have, you have to figure out a time to do your stuff.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you her day is full of all kinds of things.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah. It's like 5 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And, in order to get that, whatever it is that you do, you've got to go really early or really late.
Or super late. But even then, usually exhausted by the end of the day from all the stuff you've been doing.
Yeah. It depends on your personality.
Exactly.
So those are some tips for dads to balance work and life. Not sure that, the problem's going to be solved.
But it'll help you.
But the idea is, take some inventory, look at sort of what's important to you, and then you've got to make some changes to do that and figure out what's important. That's probably the biggest thing.
Right.
And take action accordingly.
Yeah. And if you have tips, I would like to hear from the audience maybe.
How can they do that?
podcast@dudesTodads.com. You can email us.
Or
you can go to Facebook, Twitter, almost every social media outlet, Dudes to Dads. Go to the website. And then if you just want to listen in, go to iTunes and Stitcher and leave a comment in there.
Subscribe as well.
Subscribe. Yeah, please do that. That would be really excellent.
Subscriptions.
If you can actually do that.
We had a couple good reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple good reviews in there, but we need some more.
Oh, yeah, we want
to get to the top of the parenting area for iTunes. That's our goal.
Yes.
The top.
Yes. New and noteworthy, they call that. We're not new anymore, but we can be noteworthy.
That's
we get more subscriptions. Popular.
Just get really popular.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's one of the ways they judge that.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure it is.
We have to optimize for that.
Yeah.
So with that, Alan, thank you once again.
Thank you.
This is Dudes to Dads, and we will see you.
All right. Take care, guys.